good morning again, everybody. Thanks very much for joining us. This is our pre-mentoring program webinar, and we're really taking this opportunity to share with you some information about migrant leaders, what we're developing at the moment, and also we're going to talk to you about our app so that you get a good idea about how to use it effectively and make the best of your mentoring through the app. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Elham Fardad. She's our CEO and founder of Migrant Leaders, and she's going to talk to you about what's happening at Migrant Leaders at the moment. Thanks, Elham.
Thank you so much, Fawzia. Migrant Leaders Mentees, I am so pleased to join you today on our pre-mentoring program webinar. It's a privilege to work for you guys. You are my ultimate boss, Migrant Leaders Mentees, and I'm particularly pleased to join you on this Saturday morning. I'm going to tell you a little story about why I launched Migrant Leaders and why you should be highly motivated to engage with our program. When I was young, we lived in Iran. I was born in Iran, and there was a revolution when I was 6 years old. Pretty much immediately afterwards, Iran entered a war, the Iran-Iraq war. So between the age of 6 and 13, we were in a war with rationing, sirens, lots of challenges, economic and social challenges. Iran was highly isolated from the world, and it still is. And what it meant for me personally as a young girl growing up in Iran, in the capital city Tehran, is that pretty much every night there were sirens going on when the bombardments started. The sirens would go on, we would get up, turn off all the electric lights, put the candles on, and go to the basement. We had to do that because the basement is safest should a bomb hit your building. And I remember we would go to the basement in the dark. There were cockroaches everywhere. My father would hold me up because I still have a fear of cockroaches from that time. And we would wait in the basement, which had very little windows. And I remember the bombs hitting the ground somewhere, going boom, boom. And then every time they did that, our windows would shake. So we used to put diagonally sellotape across our windows so that if the windows would shatter, the glass wouldn't shatter in our faces, hopefully. And every time the bombs hit the ground somewhere, the anti-aircraft missiles from the Iranian side would go up. So that sound always resonates in my mind when we watch World War II movies and the sirens and the rationing, and so many of those movies resonate with me. And in fact, sometimes if I'm feeling emotionally sensitive, I don't watch movies like that because it's just too close to home. So back in 1986, my father decided that enough is enough. We need to leave. We are in danger. I remember when I went to school in Iran, after a night of bombing, I would go to school, and in the mornings I would run classroom to classroom. Frantically, I would run to check if my friends are still alive. Coming to the UK in 1986, when I was 13 years old, I realized eventually that that was not a normal childhood, that was really hard. But for that reason, even to this day, I'm really grateful for the security and safety and the opportunities that this country has given me. We came here when I was 13 years old. I went to 3 different state schools in 3 years, and I did pretty well academically. So by the time I was 18, I thought I must go to university. But unfortunately, very typical of migrant families, by the time I was 18, we had lost everything. My parents separated, my father went back to Iran, and I had my little brother to look after. But I had one thing going for me. That one thing was my educational ability. I knew that if I go to university, I will make something of my life. Because back then, there weren't so many options in terms of degree apprenticeships with top companies and other options. So the only way was going to be education. But I also had a problem because with an Iranian passport and only in this country a few years, I would have been counted as a foreigner student, a problem that, alas, many of our migrant leaders mentees have. When you're counted as a foreign student, you don't qualify typically for student finance, and you have to pay foreign student fees, which are typically twice or three times as much per year as the home student fees. So I did have £4,000 at the age of 18, which I had saved by selling perfumes door to door and teaching maths to anyone whose parents were willing to pay. But I gave that £4,000 to my mum for my little brother because I thought they needed more and I can always earn more money. So I was penniless once again at 18, and I thought, that's it. I've got to convince the British government to count me as a home student so that my fees would be paid. And back then, you would even get a little bit of maintenance grant every week, £50 maintenance grant each week. So I thought, where is the British government? Well, I was growing up in Birmingham as a young Iranian migrant, and I thought the British government is the Birmingham City Council. So I found their offices, Birmingham City Council offices, and there was no internet at that point, 1989 by then, or was it 1991? Beg your pardon. By the time I was 18, it was 1991. And I thought, yes, Birmingham City Council offices, that's where I'm going to go. I camped there for 3 days in a row, and I refused to leave until they would take me to see someone. On the third day, they agreed and took me, and I spoke to two gentlemen. I explained to them that, look, I've just finished my A-levels. I want to go to university, get a graduate job, pay my taxes, and be a good member of society. Because that's what my father had told me. Look, you're now part of this society, the British society, and you've got to make sure you work hard, pay your taxes, be a good, useful member of British society, and do your duties. So that's what I told them, and they seemed to like it. So they helped. A few weeks later, I received a letter that said, you are a home student, and this is what it means. That enabled me to go to university. And fast forward a few years, by the time I was 25, I had done my degree, qualified as an accountant, and got my first managerial job as a financial controller in GE. I was really proud of that because GE was founded by Thomas Edison, and I was so much into science and maths at that age that I was very impressed by GE and its origins. So I started as a financial controller in GE, and the next 20 years passed really quickly, to be honest. I spent 23 years in senior finance roles in GE, News Corp, and EY, working for corporate clients for 10 years. Back in GE, they selected me for the Advanced Financial Leadership Program because in GE, they always picked the top 10% of the managers and put them on these advanced leadership programs. And they flew me all over the world, Crotonville, Chicago, and that was really cold, but the steaks were good. Chicago, Florence, Holland. The training was held all over the world, and every quarter, at least every quarter, they would fly us all over the world. And I would have the other high-flying financial controllers and finance managers from all over the world, not just in GE Power Systems where I worked, but in GE Energy, GE Power Systems, GE Lighting, GE Medical Systems, GE Capital. So I met my cohorts and they put us together, and I learned so much from the Advanced Financial Leadership Program at GE. It was amazing. And that really set me up for the rest of my career. So in 2010, I joined EY. It was a dream of mine. I remember when I was about 15, 16, I used to go to a very posh part of Birmingham in Colmore Row by the Great Western Arcade, which was a really posh shopping centre. I thought that's where I need to go and see what's happening with these posh people. I used to dress as politely as I could, and I used to look up. I remember how high the EY office building looked like in Colmore Row. And I used to look up there and think, wow, this is the ultimate in offices. And I really want to work in a place like that. I never imagined that I have a chance of ever working in an office like that. But I wanted to check what kind of people go in and out. And I remember seeing the ladies coming in and out of that office in their amazing skirt suits, because back then trouser suits were not so normal for professional ladies. It was all skirt suits at that time. And I remember thinking, they look so polished, they look so professional. They were talking to their male colleagues with authority and body language. I was picking up on all that and imagining, emulating myself on them. That's why sometimes people say, you don't sound very brummy, do you? Well, I feel completely brummy, but I always try to learn from anyone who I wanted to emulate, whether they're in Birmingham or outside Birmingham, in the UK or outside the UK. It's always good for you to notice people that you admire and fit your vision of life and career and emulate them. So I finally, in 2010, got the chance to be interviewed, go through the assessment centers, and join Ernst & Young, which was later rebranded as EY. I remember that I had passed 4 interviews with EY in 2010. I had already spent 15 years as a finance director in large corporates, so my CV was pretty good. And I had an MBA from Warwick University, which GE actually funded. And I was doing that part-time while working full-time for GE. And so my CV by then, by 2010, was really pretty much as good as it gets. But I wanted to join EY, and the Big Four are really challenging to get a job offer from. So you have to really do your very best in every area in order to get a job at the Big Four. And I really recommend mentees engage with that kind of process as early as possible so that you get the right work experiences, you get the right grades, you're part of the right program, Migrant Leaders, and really engage with us, because that's how you're going to position yourself for jobs like that. So I was, summer 2010. I had passed 4 interviews with EY, and this was going to be the last stage of recruitment for a senior manager job. And on that morning, I was going to have the full day assessment center at EY. But the night before, my son was quite ill with a cold and fever. So I had spent the whole night awake looking after my son. And at 7 a.m., I handed over to my husband. I said, right, his fever is down. It's broken. Great. He's going to be all right. I'm off to my assessment center. I went to the assessment center, had a stiff coffee. I remember thinking, do I have 1 coffee or 2 coffees by the EY office in More London Place in London Bridge. And I thought if I have 2 coffees, I might appear nervous. So I thought, let's try 1 coffee, because if that doesn't work to wake me up and give me energy, no doubt they will offer us something like tea or coffee. So I had one coffee and I went into the EY office about 20 minutes early because I thought that's just right for an assessment center. I went in there and my goodness, they had laid an amazing breakfast. There was only 3 of us. So by then, only 3 candidates for one senior manager role. There were 3 of us. So I thought if I'm the average of them, I have a third chance. That's pretty good, 33% chance. But I wanted to suss out how I could increase that chance to maybe 50% or more. So I needed to know needed to know a little bit more about them, about the other 2 candidates. So over breakfast, it was like croissants and pastries and coffee, tea, orange juice. It was breakfast for 10 people, but it was only for the 3 of us. And by then I had worked in senior positions in the corporate, so I knew this is the life. Really good. I loved it. And there's no shame in wanting that life, migrant leaders, mentees. You've got to aspire towards something. Whatever gives you ambition and hard work, go for it. So we had breakfast and I asked the other 2, so, what do you do? What's your current position? How come you applied for this job? That helped me understand a little bit more about them. I realized that both of them were from a consulting background. I had 0 consultancy experience, but very solid industry experience. So I realized that's the way to differentiate myself. And that was pretty much my preparation strategy prior to that day anyway. And we went through a number of exercises. And finally, when it came to the partner presentation, I knew I had it in the bag when I was passing the other candidates who remained in the process. Midway through the process, they rejected the other candidate, and there was now left just me and this other candidate who had very solid consulting experience, and he had performed pretty well in our group exercise. So I knew I have competition, but I passed him and I had prepared a bound presentation about my industry experience and an example project which they had asked for. And inadvertently he saw my bound folder and he looked nervous. And I realized he hadn't prepared very well for the partner presentation. So I knew I had it in the bag. That is sometimes the moment when you have a green light in a recruitment process, you relax a bit. But sometimes you relax too much and you start waffling, you start cracking silly jokes, you start doing silly things and you lose it. You lose the opportunity, the job. So I knew I mustn't do that because I had done that once before. So I thought, okay. So I relaxed just enough to really enjoy my presentation and really fly. And it was done. I got the verbal job offer that day, and I spent the next 10 years in EY, learning a lot, just as much as I learned at GE. It was amazing. So why did I tell you this story? Because as migrant leaders mentees, you've taken the first very, very important step in joining migrant leaders. Really important step. You now need to engage with that program. You've turned up to the pre-mentoring program. This is a very good start. You will learn from this webinar how to get the best out of your mentoring relationship with your migrant leaders mentors, how to use our app, how to set up your profile so that mentors notice you. My colleagues Fozia and Niha will expand on those points. And I really want you to grab every opportunity that Migrant Leaders gives you so that you are really engaged with our community, take the opportunities that we give you and fly at least as high as I did. With that in mind, I'd like to thank you for being here, and I will now hand over to my colleague, Niha.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you, Elham. So today I'm going to talk to you about the Migrant Leaders mobile app and how to set yourself up on the actual app. So once you've accepted onto the program, there's a number of steps to follow in order to set your profile up on the app. So that starts, first of all, with 5 questions. And these are questions about your background, your grades, your career aspirations. And it's really trying to input information in there, but in a very concise way. So we ask you to use bullet points when you answer these 5 questions. We ask you to use keywords, and we ask you not to repeat yourself. Now, alongside those, with those questions are mainly, about your background. You want to explain exactly why you want to join the Migrant Leaders Development Program. What are you hoping to gain from it? So the work experience, the connections, the mentorship, those kind of things. Alongside of that, it's also asking about your career aspirations. Where do you see your future? What do you see it looking like? So if you're able to be very specific, but be comprehensive at the same time, I want to be in finance at some top position in investment banking, or I want to be a lawyer, or I want to be a mechanical engineer in companies like BP, things like that. The more specific you are, if you're able to, it just gives a gauge with the mentors of where you want to be and where your aspirations are. We ask you within those 5 questions not to actually put in any emotional statements and vague statements. So it says, where do you see your future? Things like, I want to change the world, or I want to earn 6-figure salaries and things like that. We try to advise you not to use things like that. All of you want to really aim high, want to do well, want to get really good positions in terms of careers. But in that respect, it's actually pinpointing the kind of careers you want to be involved in, the industries you want to be working in as well, rather than linking it back to any kind of salary aspirations and sort of emotional statements. You mentioned your GCSEs, and within those 5 questions, your grades, your A-level grades, and also if you're a university student, any kind of university qualification that you may have. The last 2 questions are mainly about your personal achievements. And we ask you to put down organizations that you've been a part of, proud moments that you've had, and to note them in bullet points, 3 or 4 bullet points per sort of personal achievement, and organizations would be plenty. But it's trying to keep it concise and to the point. So once these 5 questions are done, that also is part of your interest as well. So some interest that you have outside your academics, you can mention them, whether it's some volunteering work, some tutoring work, you're part of any sports clubs, positions of responsibility, things like that. You may want to mention those down. So after these 5 questions, then you have to go on to select aspects of profession, sector, and personal development. So there's a drop-down list, and from there, we ask you to choose your top 3 professions that you would be interested in pursuing in terms of career choices. Now, we have many listed on there. If there happens to be a particular profession or career that is not listed on there that you feel you are more inclined to, you may choose the word other and then expand on it in your questions 1 to 5. But we have a lot of different career choices on there with professions. So we ask you to choose your top 3. After this, we ask you to choose a sector that you want to be working in. So there's various different sectors. And again, you choose your top 3 that would work for you. If there's a particular sector, again, that's not mentioned on there, you may use the word other and expand on in your questions 1 to 5. And then the final thing we ask you to do is to choose areas of personal development that you really want to focus on with your mentor. So do you want help with career planning? Do you want help with applications? Do you want help with confidence and resilience, interpersonal skills, leadership skills, networking, public speaking? So what are your top 3 priorities? From the drop-down list, you note them down on there. And all of this creates your profile on the app. And it is very similar to like a LinkedIn profile. So if you have a LinkedIn profile, it's similar to that. But this is your profile on the Migrant Leaders app that helps you in order to get a match with a mentor. Now, after you've done this, this should hopefully match with the mentor's profile. But what happens is the mentor may get 5 different candidates flagged to them on the app, and they would go through each person's profile and read through it. So if your profile is specific, it's comprehensive, it's powerful, it's punchy, and it's engaging, then it's more likely that the mentor would reach out to connect with you on the app. When they connect with you on the app, you're able to view their profile on the app, but you must connect back with them. And only once you're connected back with them, we release your email address and mobile number to the mentor so they can start contacting you going forwards, so they can start organizing the mentoring sessions. And that's how that works. It's very important to note that the app is purely for matching purposes, and no actual mentoring sessions take place on the app. That all happens offline, off the app, on phone calls, WhatsApp calls, video calls, Zoom, Teams, things like that, that you organize between yourself and the mentor. Now, the mentoring relationship and the way that it works, we say is between 1 and 3 hours per month. And that's really up to you and your mentor to organize, given all your extracurricular commitments, the mentor's commitments, and things like that. And if there's any time that you feel you want to be inactive on the app, there's a toggle on the app that you just have to flick over that will make you inactive on the app. And then with this time, if you're going through exams and there's a period of time after which then you want to be active on the app, then you can then flick that toggle back to active on the app and just make sure aspects of your profile are current, and then they're reflecting everything that you have achieved and what you're aspiring to achieve as well at that point. And you're able to stay on the Migrant Leaders Development Program up until your 26th birthday. We support 16 to 25-year-olds on our program. And you, as a year 12 or 13 student, you're able to have a mentor at this point in your life to help you through applications for degree apprenticeship programs, further education, university applications. And then once you actually secure your offers and you then want to take a break and then wait till you start university or those degree apprenticeship programs, and later on that you want to have another mentor at that point in your life when you're then moving on in your career path, you're able to do that as well. And you can tweak aspects of your profile and then gain another mentor at that point in your life as well. So it's a very continuous sort of relationship and your journey with migrant leaders, if you like, over the next couple of years. And that's how the app will help you get a mentor. There's various other aspects as well, which Elham will talk about. Now, the more you engage with aspects of what we offer, and the 3 things we offer are the mentorship, we offer the different events, and then the opportunity to grow your connections and your network. And as you've seen with Elham's story, if that is an inspiration of how she came to the UK and really pushed forward with her career path, then I don't know what is, because that is such a great inspirational story to then learn from and then also catapult your careers, your future in order to do really well. So that's all from me regarding the app. And later on, I'm sure we've got some time for some questions as well, if anyone has questions regarding the app and how it works and things like that.
Thanks very much, Neha. That was a really nice run through the app and how it works and what we're hopefully going to encourage mentees to use the app for in terms of creating their profile, and really good guidance on how mentees can create a profile that I always describe as compelling, because at the end of the day, the mentors will be looking at the profiles, as you quite rightly said, to choose who to send connection requests to. If I may, I'm going to add a couple of things to what you've already said, because you've obviously talked about profiles and you've talked about connections. A couple of other things that the app will do is we have the upskill tab, where you will find information about any opportunities or events that we've got coming up. And you'll receive a notification. So when you set up your profile, as part of that, you can set up your settings to receive notifications. and then you'll receive a notification when we add a new opportunity on the app, and then you can click through and it will take you to the information that you need to know. Perhaps that was, I mean, I'm hoping many of you received a notification for this event, selected the opportunity in the app, and then got through to Eventbrite to register your interest in joining us. So that's the way the process works. There's also a connections tab, so you can see all your active connections and also pending connections. So those are connection requests that you've received that you haven't actually responded to yet. So really important thing. Those of you that have done our pre-mentoring modules online will remember from pre-mentoring program module 3, the guidance we give you there about interpersonal communication with people in the professional world. Really what we want to encourage you to do is respond promptly to those connection requests. So you will receive a notification if you have been selected by a mentor. And if you don't respond to the notification pretty quickly, our app's actually set up to send you a weekly email. So you'll get regular emails to remind you that you've got pending connection requests. Please do respond to those as quickly as possible. We don't want the mentors to feel that their connection requests aren't valued. And you want to set yourself up for a really positive connection with that mentor. So the sooner you respond, basically you demonstrate your interest and enthusiasm for mentoring, which is always going to set you up for a good positive start to any connection. So those are a couple of things I wanted to share about what else the app does. And I thought Neha picked 5 really great words to describe what we'd like your profile to be. So she said specific, comprehensive, powerful, punchy, and engaging. And I think if you can remember those words, then you know that will give you really good guidance. And take a critical eye of whatever you do. So when you're writing your profile, use a critical eye, or maybe get somebody else to read it and just review it for you. And really, you need to critique anything that you write about yourself. So your profile, your CV, any applications that you put forward in future. Always have a critical review of those, because sometimes you see things that you want to see, and an objective eye or an objective person may point things out to you that you haven't been aware of. Okay. Oh, and I must also mention DBS certificates. So any mentee that is 16 or 17 years old, the mentors need a DBS certificate before they can connect with you. So before we release your details to them, we will ask them for a DBS certificate, either one that they've already got or arrange a new one for them. So that might explain to you why things are held up a little bit. There is a little bit of a delay because the DBS certificates can take a little bit of time. So I wanted to share that with you. And I also just wanted to say, once you reach 26th birthday, we would love for you to remain engaged with our community. So either as a mentee or think about becoming a mentor, because we're always, we want to build a virtuous circle, and we're all about giving back to people coming up behind us. So do think about that as well in terms of continuous engagement with migrant leaders. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to share. I really want to open up the floor to all of you to see if you have any questions. You've all been very quiet through and patient listening to the presentation and the information that we've shared. So please do feel free to either raise your hand and ask your question yourself, or put it in the chat, and then I'll pass it on to Elham or Neha. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds so you can think about it.
While the mentees think about that, I want to answer a very typical question that we get. The one about how long will it take me to get a mentor through the Migrant Leaders app? Well, the short answer is depends, because I'm always recruiting more mentors in the fields and sectors that mentees have an interest in professionally. But mentors from those sectors and fields need to notice your profile. So the best chance you have is to set up a really good app profile so that they notice you. That's very important. The other thing that's really important to boost your chances of getting one or more mentors is actually turn up to our online Connect conferences every month. We've designed the Connect conferences primarily to connect you with migrant leaders mentors who will be in those monthly conferences. Not only you'll hear 3 career stories from mentors every month, but also you'll be able to go into a sector breakout room on Zoom that you choose, and in a small group of mentors and mentees, talk about that sector, industry sector, about jobs, careers, and present yourself with your 10-second pitch, 20-second pitch explaining what's your name, what you're studying, what educational institution you're studying, and what career you're aspiring towards. And talk to the mentors in the breakout room and see if there's a good connection between you, and if you would like one of them to be your mentor, in which case you can ask them, would you mind if you find me on the Migrant Leaders app? Mentors can now search for mentees by name. So if they meet you in the breakout room on our online Connect conference, they have a more chance of selecting you as a mentee. So you gotta cooperate with us at Migrant Leaders and you know, go all the way yourself and land that mentor for yourself. We can't do all of it for you, and I'm confident that Migrant Leaders mentees are perfectly capable to do that and get themselves one or more mentors through our app.
Thanks very much, Alham. So I've got a question here that I think Neha can answer. It's from one of the mentees. Do you actually have to put bullet points when you input in your question, in your profiles to those questions?
No, you don't need to use the actual bullet points as such, but if you specifically have a shortened version rather than long rambling sentences, that would be better, because there's obviously a character limit. We want you to include all the information on there within each point of those questions 1 to 5.
I want to add something to about character limits. Whenever on a form or an essay or whatever, particularly on forms, application forms, when they give you a character limit, please remember that is a limit, not a target. That doesn't mean you must use the whole limit. It's better to say the same thing more concisely. Obviously, don't be too concise, because you might not be able to get the information across, or you might look like you're not making an effort if you're too limited in what you put, but do be concise.
Thanks, Alham. And I've got another question about writing profiles. So this one says, if I choose other in any of the menus, where do I put more information, and when do I put it in the app? Neha, is that something you can cover?
Yes, that would be in question 2, which is where do you see in terms what you see what your future to look like. So it's your aspiration of the kind of profession or sector you want to be working in. So best place to do it is in question 2.
That's great, thank you. So another question that we've got typed in the chat is, I think that's Thadis. Thadis, I'll read your question out unless you want to put your microphone on and ask it yourself. Okay, I'm going to read it out, and I think this one is for Alham. So as a Year 12 student, I'd like to hear about potential future future opportunities that can be offered to people in the same year as me, if possible, as I believe I have seen few opportunities for Year 13s that seemed very beneficial to them.
Yes, I can certainly answer that question. I'll give you an example. On the 29th of April, we have a work experience day with BP, exclusively for Migrant Leaders mentees. It's in Milton Keynes, and I actually want to hear from Migrant Leaders mentees who would definitely like to apply. and attend. If you're definitely able to attend, then I will be sharing the registration link with you. Don't worry, after this webinar, I'll be emailing all the mentees to offer that opportunity. But if you have other people in the same year that want to attend our corporate work experiences, then the best thing they can do is apply to the Migrant Leaders Program so that they would be eligible to attend such Migrant Leaders events and work experiences. So please do encourage all your friends and your school, college, university students who are eligible for the Migrant Leaders Program to apply to our program on our website, to apply to join as a mentee. To be eligible, the criteria is mainly a socio-economic criteria. So there have to be one or more elements of socio-economic disadvantage. For example, if your household income is low, typically below £27,000 per year, or you had free school meals, or you're the first generation in your family to be going to university. It's okay if siblings have gone to university, but you're the first generation to be going to university, and any other socioeconomic disadvantage. If the candidate ticks any one of those socioeconomic disadvantages, then they're highly likely to be eligible for our program, and they should apply on our website to join as a mentee. Thank you.
Elham, another couple of questions, or a couple of people asking questions that are similar. So Abdul is saying that he would love to attend a lot of the opportunities, but lives quite far away, and is asking our travel fees reimbursed. And again, Empress has also asked about travel expenses being covered.
I can answer that, no problem. I'm doing two things to try and address that need. First of all, our charity, as you can imagine, we try and utilize all our funding in the frontline operations to try and provide our Migrant Leaders Program to as many young people across the UK as possible. For that reason, we don't have a special budget to reimburse travel costs. But I do two things to try and help with that. Number one, for some of our events, I negotiate with the corporate partner so that they pay for travel costs. And if that's the case, usually the leaflet that I prepare would say so. And the other thing is that we try and have an opportunity fund that if a particular mentee is in a difficult situation, we can talk to them, but that is now very limited. We've used all our opportunity fund already for that purpose. One other thing that I tend to do is, because our corporate partners are FTSE 100, Fortune 500 companies, leading firms, they tend to have operations across the world and even across the UK. For example, Smith & Nephew, their medical training headquarters are based in Watford, but they also have a big centre in Hull. And our other corporate partners have centres all around the country. For example, BP in Milton Keynes and KPMG all over the country, Deloitte all over the country. So I am trying to work with my team at Migrant Leaders so we can deliver equally high quality and important work experiences in your locality. So watch this space, keep engaged with Migrant Leaders, and we are doing our very best to come to you.
Thanks very much, Elham. Abdul and Empress, it would be good to know where you are actually based. So Empress, you're telling us Manchester, but you're specifically interested in medicine, I think. Well, we are having a legal work experience in Manchester. I can't remember the date of it now. Elham, can you say July?
July, yeah. It's July. It's on the app. It's on the Migrant Leaders app. And it's 2 days work experience for aspiring legal professionals. So, you know, that would be really, really great for you to get a really high quality work experience, because it's going to be a relatively small cohort in a very attentive and supportive legal firm that we're now working with. For legal students, you should also know that we have our official partner as Clifford Chance. So we have many mentors from Clifford Chance, who are a magic circle law firm. So we have an abundance of opportunities. I am going to try and work with Deloitte and KPMG to come to Manchester, because they have great Manchester offices. So really watch this space.
Yeah, Abdul's in Liverpool, so I'm told, Abdul, correct me if I'm wrong, but Liverpool is very accessible and for Manchester. So hopefully some of the events in Manchester will be suitable for you. I don't think we have anything specifically in Liverpool at the moment that planned, have we, Elham?
Not in the pipeline yet, but I think particularly with the big four accountancy firms, because they're in Liverpool, Manchester, Birmingham, all over the country, there are things we can do to multiply that effect, as well as our investment banks. Barclays, for example, I'm working with their local representatives to do events like we did in London for investment banking students.
And the other thing I would say to those people that are around the country, our online opportunities are also worth engaging in. So these sorts of opportunities to speak to the Migrant Leaders team, Clifford Chance have done online webinars for us, NatWest have done online webinars for us. Who have I forgotten, Elham?
Sienna.
So IT, banking, and law. So, keep an eye on the app for the information that we put out, so that you can join those online if you can't join them in person. Okay. Any more questions that anybody would like to raise?
While they raise the questions, I want to make another point. There are a lot of programs out there, lots of charities, lots of businesses offering development programs for young people. I'd like Migrant Leaders mentees to distinguish between content versus opportunity. Migrant Leaders, yes, we give you content in terms of insight days, information, and nuggets of knowledge about sectors and careers, training. We do that. We do the content. But where Migrant Leaders is really different and unique is the opportunities bit. Because we don't just point you to jobs that are advertised for the whole world to apply. We give you opportunity. So don't underestimate the importance of getting a couple of mentors for yourselves one-to-one through Migrant Leaders, because those mentors themselves, once they get to know you, could offer work experience opportunities to you, could introduce you to more colleagues, could recommend you for a particular job at their company through a referral scheme, which most big companies have. And when you come referred by a current employee, you have a much improved chance of landing that job. So opportunity is what is unique about Migrant Leaders. Opportunity, including connections. And I try and bring my best corporate relationships from 25 years of working with corporate colleagues to you. So that's how we are unique.
Right, thank you very much, Elham, and that's a really great explanation of some of the benefits that our mentees can get by remaining engaged with Migrant Leaders and really taking part actively in the mentoring side as well. I have no more questions coming in. If anybody would like to ask questions about their app profile, Neha is here to advise you. I hope everybody that has joined us today is in the app. If you're not, let us know. If you have any questions about that, where to install it. You should have received the guidance document from us about installing the app, so you will have information, and there are a couple of videos there that you can have a look at in terms of how to set up your profile. I don't see any more questions coming through. Neha, any final comments?
Yes, I was interviewing some candidates this week, and one particular candidate said to me, how would you become successful within Migrant Leaders? And my advice to that particular candidate, I said, we offer those three things of the mentorship, the events, and growing your connections. But the most successful candidates would really be engaged in the process of working with the mentor, not always saying offline with the mentoring. So being active for mentoring, attending various different events as well. So please do sign up for those different events around the country, and whether they're in person and online as well, because the more you engage with the program, the more you're going to get out of it as well. And as Elham mentioned about your mentor, because the mentor has a huge network of contacts as well, which will spurn off, you know, work experience opportunities and other opportunities as well. So that's all part of what we offer, and we have great partnerships as well. So it's really in your hands to really take it by the horns and really make the most of it as well.
That's
That's
great.
all.
Thanks, Neha. We have a question from Yusuf. Yusuf, would you like to tell us what aspects of real estate you're interested in? Commercial property. So, Elham, we do work with CBRE, don't we?
Yes.
And we do have mentors in property. I know we've recently just added some people working in construction and project management, that sort of thing. But do you want to take that question?
I'd love to. Yusuf, CBRE is the key partner that we have worked with so far. CBRE is a Fortune 500 company, so has a large portfolio of commercial properties that they manage on behalf of large companies. You will see on many company buildings, different company buildings, there's a notice or a plaque saying CBRE managed. So they are big in that commercial property space. JLL is the other one that I am working on recruiting some mentors from, so that I multiply the effect of the opportunities for you. The other tip I would give on kind of commercial property and real estate would be look at engineering companies like Atkins, who do really high quality engineering projects in the commercial property space. So Atkins, if you're interested on the engineering side, Atkins and their competitors would be high quality companies to watch out for. In the meantime, CBRE and JLL are overall generalists. So the next question, Empress is asking, how do I sign up to the app, and do I need to receive login details? Fawzia, do you want to take that?
I certainly will. Empress, so you can go, depending on what sort of phone you have, you can go to the Apple iStore or you can go to Google Play Store. Search for Migrant Leaders, look for our logo, the ML logo that you can see behind me, and install it on your phone there. And you will have to set a password. You need your email address that you use for Migrant Leaders, and you set a password that you then verify, and then you can go ahead and set up your profile. I think that's covered it. Is that everything?
Yes, very good.
Okay. Thanks for asking, Empress. And please do go. I don't have my I have an admin panel. We can all access an admin panel, so we can see who's got the app and who hasn't got the. Well, we can see who's got the app. We can't. That's what we see. If you have any questions after you've installed your app about your profile, we can have a look at what you've entered so that we can give you some guidance if we need to.
But first, before you ask any questions from the Migrant Leaders team, please do check the Migrant Leaders app guide for mentees. It doesn't make a good impression when you ask a question that you could have found in 5 minutes from a website or a guide. And that's a good habit to get into, because that's the expectation when you go for job interviews as well.
That's a really good tip, Elham. Thank you for that very much. I think so. We've got 5 minutes left. I've sort of put a note in there to say we've got last few minutes for questions. Elham, do you want to run through? Have we covered already events that are coming up? We've got the monthly Connect conferences, so everybody will receive an email and an app notification to let them know when they can register for those. Anything else that we can share at the moment?
Lots of exciting stuff coming up. So in April, of course, we have our work experience day for sixth formers in BP, Milton Keynes, and it's exclusively, as usual, for migrant leaders. We've got our monthly Connect conferences and some of the upcoming things in June and July. Obviously, we've got the legal work experience in for sixth formers in Manchester, but we also have on 26th of June, we have our work experience day with the company Informa. I remember Informa from my time in EY. They were one of our clients that we worked with, and they are a media and entertainment organization. And I'm really excited that we're going to be working with them. So 26th of June is our Informa day, and I'm working with Amazon to create an amazing day in their Shoreditch office. I went to visit their Shoreditch office, and it was amazing. I really want you guys as mentees to see that. You'll see why if you turn up. So I'll be sharing information about how to apply or register for those events.
And while you've been talking, I've just remembered that 2 online events that we've got coming up in July. So after exams have finished, the apprenticeship webinar. So if anybody is interested in applying for apprenticeships, we'll have a couple of apprentices speaking to you online about their experiences and giving you any advice and guidance that they can. And then again, after exams are finished, we'll be having our regular, it's annual education conference, and that's for year 12 students that are about to go on, have their summer holiday and thinking about their UCAS applications. So look out for those as well, and we look forward to welcoming you to those in a couple of months' time. Okay, I cannot see any more questions, so I'm going to say thank you very much to Neha for sharing all that wonderful guidance, Elham for sharing her story and for giving lots of good advice and tips from her extensive experience working with the corporates and also in, for working well within migrant leaders. Thank you to all the mentees that have joined us. We really appreciate your time. It's a lovely sunny day here in London. I hope some of you can go and enjoy the weather, and we look forward to seeing you again at another event or online event in the future. Bye-bye now.